This video was brought to you by Ground News. Happy Pride Month! Well, happy-ish, because this video is interesting. It's become an annual tradition that every June, big corporations celebrate Pride Month by hawking rainbow-emblazoned versions of their products and letting their logos get a bit fruitier. But it's also become a time-honored tradition that conservatives take this opportunity to complain about it online. Like, a lot. In fact, we first made a video about this topic all the way back in 2018. Regardless, things seem to have reached a fever pitch this year, with anti-trans legislation becoming increasingly common in the US, hot on the heels of the Bud Light fiasco, and with people threatening to bomb Target. It's worth asking the question, is corporate pride over? Now, this whole topic is a little chaotic, so let's break this video down into chunks to try and make sense of things. Firstly, let's talk about the whole concept of corporate pride. Then we can discuss a few recent examples of conservative backlash, notably in relation to Bud Light and Target. And finally, let's talk about whether this is bringing an end to corporate pride altogether, and if going woke really does mean that you go broke. Ever since companies realized that they could make a bit more money by slapping a rainbow on their bottle, underwear, watch strap, or Dorito, they've been doing it. And in recent years, as we've seen an increase in acceptance of LGBTQ+ people, this trend has only accelerated, with us reaching the point where updating your company's social media account to include a rainbow almost feels necessary. Now, in previous years, this hasn't caused all that much controversy. It's just a more colorful can or whatever. Who really cares? But in the year of our Lord 2023, everyone cares about everything. And, well, welcome to the world of pride chaos. Now, you likely know these stories already, but it's worth outlining a couple of recent firestorms in relation to this issue. Now, back in April, Bud Light partnered with notable influencer and trans activist Dylan Mulvaney.
This month I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too. Love ya!
Now, Bud Light were clearly hoping that this very minor partnership would help them reach some of Mulvaney's 2 million Instagram followers and broaden the audience of their product, which, despite being America's best-selling beer, does skew towards a more straight male audience. So it was a simple business decision that marketeers make every day: appeal to a new market segment via a targeted piece of media fronted by a notable figure from that community. The thing is that this didn't end up being any ordinary run-of-the-mill messaging effort though, with the right-wing outrage machine quickly jumping on this topic, with outlets like Fox News complaining about the post and activists calling for the boycott of Bud Light. More recently, Target, the American retail giant, has also faced similar criticism over its Pride collection. This is a range of about 2,000 products which Target has promoted for a number of years now, with the reveal of the company's Pride collection almost becoming a moment in and of itself, as social media begins to review and critique the company's yearly efforts. This time round though, it wasn't just questionable graphic design choices that were being called into question, with right-wingers again attacking the range. Now, it's actually a little hard to see what provoked this outrage, besides the fact that the right-wing press were just trying to squeeze some additional rage out of the anti-LGBTQ+ community. And it's especially confusing as Target are far from the only brand doing this. And as I said, they've been releasing Pride items for years now. But when you dig down, most of the controversy mainly revolves around tuck-friendly swimwear for children and demonic merchandise. The thing is that the swimwear in question isn't available in children's sizes, despite rampant misinformation online. And while one of the designers who work with Target on the range has indeed made clothing which features phrases like "Satan accepts pronouns," none of that stuff was actually available in stores, making CPAC's claim that Target is promoting demonic paraphernalia in their stores entirely untrue. Irrespective of what started the controversy, though, or the veracity of the claims, this year's Pride collection has indeed caused a ton of anger. Anger which has entered the real world, with people harassing staff members, destroying merchandise, berating LGBTQ+ customers, and even threatening to bomb stores. As a result, Target decided to remove some items from the collection, as well as apparently moving the Pride collection to the back of stores in some southern locations to reduce the threat posed to staff members. The question, though, is if any of this really matters. Isn't this just a very vocal minority causing a fuss, shooting beer cans, and ruining the days of retail workers? Well, it seems that in this instance, the mantra of go woke, go broke has made some impact for AB InBev, owners of Bud Light. Following the post with Mulvaney, sales of Bud Light have dropped 26% versus a year ago. Now, to be fair, even prior to the Mulvaney post, Bud Light sales were already in decline, slipping by 6.4% year on year. But it does seem that this whole controversy has hit sales. Now, AB InBev will highlight, rightly, that sales across the company are actually up, and that following price increases, profits across the business are up too, by a massive 13.6% year on year, partly driven by the fact that those boycotting Bud Light are merely moving to another AB InBev brand. Regardless of the company's wider success, this impact on Bud Light is still a huge moment. Now, it's too soon to tell what this means for the brand in the longer term, and it's also too early to judge what the impact of the controversy surrounding Target will be. But it does seem that these boycotts are having an impact right now. The question is whether they'll last, and other historical boycotts suggest that they won't. A study conducted by academics from Cornell, Northwestern, and Imperial found that similar boycotts just don't lead to long-term or meaningful changes. In their study, they focused on the boycott of Latin food brands Goya, following their CEO's support of President Trump. Now, unsurprisingly, this announcement led to some on the left calling for a boycott of the brand, a boycott which increased sales by 22%. That's because while those on the left started to boycott the brand, those on the right started a boycott, adding support to the business. Now, when it comes to Bud Light statistics, it's pretty clear that even if those on the left are backing the brand in a similar way, that shift hasn't been big enough to outweigh the losses in the same way it did for Goya. But there is some good news for Bud out of this story. That's because the study finds that even this 22% increase in sales, driven by the Republican boycott, only lasted for a few weeks. Just 3 weeks after the scandal began, and this study reports that the change in sales was no longer measurable. The truth is that boycotts often aren't as effective or long-lasting as the go woke, go broke crowd would like to pretend. Regardless though, what does this mean for the future of corporate pride? It seems that right now the right is kicking back stronger than ever. Any impact doesn't really last long anyway, and that the support from LGBTQ+ supporters doesn't do enough to offset potential losses. So is this the end of corporate pride? Well, let's take a look at Bud Light again, because this campaign didn't fail entirely. Before the Mulvaney post, Bud Light's VP said in an interview that they were hoping to change the perception of the brand, moving it from frat boys towards a more progressive, inclusive brand image. And to this end, they've seemingly had some success. While sales are down significantly and perception among Republicans has tanked, the company's brand image among groups such as young women has actually improved from a dismal -6 to a positive 0.5. They have moved the needle here. So if a brand genuinely wants to appeal to a more progressive audience, then it seems that moves like this do work. Ultimately, you win some people and you lose others. The question for brands now then is what kind of audience they want and why. This dilemma, this decision, is maybe the most potent part of this latest dialogue. There was a time when brands were able to offer up just generically optimistic, inclusive ads, something that almost everyone could support and rally around. But it seems that this kind of marketing just doesn't exist anymore. AB InBev might now be saying that they hope to build a future that everyone can celebrate and everyone can share. But it's hard to see how they can stick the landing on that. Now, brands certainly can choose to support political causes, but at this point, doing so is always going to alienate part of your demographic in order to bring other new people on board. If Bud Light really does want to become a beer for the progressives, then they can. Although the progressives might request that they make the beer inside the can a bit more palatable too. But maybe it's time that we reckon with the fact that pride just doesn't mean profit. Maybe there was a less polarized time when slapping a rainbow on something could drive sales without much consequence. But brands are really going to have to decide what they want. If they really do want to stand for something, support a cause, and drive a conversation, they can. But they have to do so with real conviction. And they actually have to do something other than putting a rainbow on their packaging. This isn't about a quick marketing campaign which winds down at the end of June. And this isn't even necessarily about profit or even being immediately popular. Unfortunately, it looks like LGBTQ+ issues are becoming divisive once again. And if your brand handles it as poorly as Bud Light did, annoying the right with the original promotion and then the left by backing down so fast, then you're not going to end up with any friends at all. Ultimately, it seems that as we move deeper into the 2020s, corporate pride is either really going to have to stand up for its convictions and make a meaningful change, or it's just going to have to slowly fade away. And maybe that's a good thing, given that, according to at least my Twitter followers, many people don't even really want corporate pride anyway. What do you think though? Comment your thoughts on the future of corporate pride down below.